Without further ado, please help me welcome my amazing dad, Tim Goad.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Gosh, guys, so good to see you. Yeah, if you feel comfortable, give your neighbor an elbow bump and say, I'm glad to see a leader here today, man. Glad to see a leader here today. Look at your other neighbor, your second choice, and say, I can tell I'm a better leader than you are. I just wanted to let you know that, too. I can just tell by looking at your body language. You're not that good yet. You know what I'm talking about? I'm just kidding. What an honor to be with you. I'm so fired up that you're here. I was going to sit down, and I may sit down in a minute, so I may change up a little bit. Is that all right? I may stand and talk to you if that's all right, because I just kind of want to deliver something. Leadership. I don't know when the first time in your life you ever heard that word, right? Leadership. And I think a lot of people live their whole lives wondering, am I a leader? There are some people that think they're a leader, that they're really not a leader. And your definition of leadership is up to you. But here's what I do know. Every one of us can get better in our leadership role. And we can get better at leading ourselves and leading other people. One of the things that I've discovered about people, and if you haven't got this book of mine yet, I would encourage you to grab it, not because it's like earth-shattering, but it is life-changing. And I guess one of the greatest questions I get asked all the time by leaders is, how do I get out of my own way? How do I get out of my own way? It seems like I get going, and then I trip up. I get going, and I make a mistake. I get going, and then I can't get out of my own way. Most of the guys that come to me normally are doing $80 to $100 million a year in revenue, and they want to get to $1 billion, or they're doing $1 billion, and they want to get to $12 billion, or they want to get from 70 billion to 140 billion. And how many of you know it's impossible to get bigger without getting better? One of my favorite stories is at Chick-fil-A. I get the privilege to speak for them every now and then. And I love the story when Truett Cathy, who founded Chick-fil-A, was sitting at a table, and everybody around the room, all the executives, were so worried about Boston Market. Do you remember Boston Market? And Boston Market was just growing and growing, and everybody around the table was sitting talking about, how do we get bigger? How do we get bigger? How do we get bigger? And they were just going for about an hour, and finally Truett Cathy said, guys, why don't we focus on not trying to get bigger, but trying to get better? And if we get better, we're going to get bigger. And so how do you find a better part of you? And that shouldn't offend you. That shouldn't offend me. I can get better. I can get better in every area of my life. I can get better as a human being. I can get better as a husband. I can get better as a father. I can get better as a friend. I can get better in all the responsibilities that I have. So I think sometimes when people think of leadership, they think, wow, I'm going to get rewards. But I find out that great leaders think about responsibility. They don't think in terms of what am I going to receive, but they think in more of the terms of what can I increase my responsibility? How can I get better at being a better leader? Can I ask you, Spencer, somebody, can I get that table? Because I'm going to lay my notebook on top of it. I want to talk to you today about the book that I wrote called How to Stop Self-Defeating Behaviors. How do I stop defeating myself? Thank you so much, Nash. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, son. Thank you. I appreciate it. Will you give Nash a hand? That was great leadership. Blakester, thank you so much. I want to thank Blank, thank you, buddy, for being here early today and getting everything set up and getting ready to rock. How many of you know that if you're going to do anything great or lasting, it takes more than one person? It takes great people around you. And boy, God has ever blessed me with some great people. I want to welcome you to G5, and I want to welcome you because you're a great leader and you're changing lives. So these few minutes that we have together, I really take it seriously. And I want to pour into you. There are a lot of leadership struggles. Would you agree with me? And I want you to know that if we can begin to think more about our responsibilities instead of rewards, I believe the rewards are going to happen. I believe that when you take responsibility where other people won't, I believe greater rewards happen. My wife and I just flew back from Kansas City last night, and we were in a restaurant in the Atlanta airport, and somebody had dropped a bunch of trash on the floor, and we watched no less than 7 or 8 people just walk past it, step over it, step on top of it. And then I saw a leader walk through and reach down and pick it up. Leaders take the responsibility for details. Details are so important in your life, in my life, and in the lives of people around you. So let me give you 5 things real quick that these are not the 5 things that leaders do to be successful, but these are 5 things that I believe that every leader really does struggle with. Number 1, and we'll talk about these in a little bit. Number 1 is uncomfortable conversations. How many of you as a leader right now have at least 1 or 2 or 3 uncomfortable conversations you need to have? You need to confront somebody. You need to talk to somebody. You need to care for somebody. You need to say, hey, we got to step this up. I feel like right now, this uncomfortable conversation that says right now we're all in a comfort zone, and what we're doing, we're acting like to each other it's working, but it's really not working. We got to be able to have those uncomfortable conversations. Do you know what I'm talking about? Sometimes in my family, like my immediate family, sometimes we'll get together and go, hey guys, what can we do to be better? What can we do to get better? Where are we right now slacking? Where are we letting down? What is it that we need to step up? And sometimes, you know what? Sometimes it's me. Sometimes my behavior can be confusing. Can I get a, hey, that's right there. You know what I'm talking about? And so I just want you to know, uncomfortable conversations. I'm not talking about mean. I'm not talking about judgmental. I'm not talking about where you cuss people out. I'm not talking about what's happened to you in the past. I'm talking about uncomfortable conversations where you know deep in your soul, the reason you and I are having this conversation is because I want what's best for you. And there's a better in you if we can have it. Are you all right with that? The second thing is, we really got to build team. And sometimes we get so busy at just going through the motions and getting work done that we don't build team. Have you ever been a part of an environment where there was a lot being done, but there was no feeling of gratitude or greatness, or there was no feeling of I matter. There was no feeling of I'm making a difference. There was no feeling of team. There was nobody really caring. See, I will tell you, and you know this already. By the way, you all know this stuff already. I'm just kind of laying it out there for us. But being able to really build a team. I don't know how you build team if you don't build people. See, a lot of times we think if I can just get people to do, then I can build a big company. But I don't know how you do it without building people. I believe a myth that you and I have got to attack and attack hard is that everybody thinks that's a growing church or that's a growing company or that's a growing organization. No, what it is growing people. And I get the privilege so many times to walk into companies and just be able to have these uncomfortable conversations that says, you know what, we don't really have a feeling of team here. We've got a bunch of individuals that come to work, and you're more like a group that goes bowling together, that goes and has pizza together, but you're not really operating as a team. I will never forget when Clemson was playing Alabama, and I don't really care that much about sports until it comes to the big games, and then I always tune in. But I remember watching this game between Clemson and Alabama, and I don't know if you love either one of those teams. I'm from Ohio, so they give me Ohio jerseys, so I wear those things, and I've got a contorted heart because now I live in Florida, so I don't know if I should be for Miami, but here's what I can tell you. At the halftime, the coach of Clemson was interviewed, and they asked him, they said, do you think you're going to win this? To which he said, I really do think we're going to win it. And he says, why do you think you're going to win it? He said, because my players love each other more than they love theirs. Wow. It's hard on your team if people don't love you and you don't love them. It's hard to get the highest amount of productivity out of somebody. Do you know how many people leave high-paying jobs, not because they're leaving for more money, but because they want to be valued and they want to be appreciated for what they do and what they bring. If you're going to fault on anything in your life, be over-appreciative. Be over as a noticer. Do you know what I'm talking about? Be aware and talk to your leaders that are around you and say, if you find somebody doing something great, will you please do me a favor and let me know so I can send a text? You understand what I'm saying? We have a guy named Edgar here. He's not here today. He's got a beautiful family. And Sunday, we had a tire on one of our vehicles that had a leak in it, and Joe and him went together and they plugged this tire. I'm very busy. I'm speaking, I'm training, but I text my son and I said, son, I don't have his number. Can you text me? He goes, Daddy, I thanked him and I want you to know that. And I said, son, I know you did and I am so grateful. But I'm going to take 1 minute of time and text him and say thank you for being there for us. See, I would tell you leaders, it's the little things that you catch people doing right that causes them to grow. And by the way, you don't have to be 40 years old to do this. You don't have to be 20 years old to do this. You actually can begin to do this at 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 years old. You actually can do it at 4 years old. Thank you. How many of you would tell me that in your team, building your team, and I will move on, is that we have a massive spirit of gratitude and thankfulness? How many of you get motivated every time you're around somebody that the only thing they can tell you is everything you're doing wrong, everything you've missed? How many of you know that doesn't really fire you up that much? Is it me or is it just me? I don't know, but can I tell you, do you like for people to come in and say, that was great, you did great, and maybe you could just think about this. How many of you know that toils the soil so that the seed can be planted? If you try to plant big ideas in hardness and hard soil, you're not going to get the result that you want. So I would encourage you, just as leaders, to do this. The fourth thing that I would encourage you to do is please keep managing your direct reports. Now, I know this doesn't fit for everybody, but a part of leadership is management. Would you agree with me on that? It is. Now, I'm not talking about getting too down and dirty in it, but I have so many leaders that come to me and go, Tim, I don't want to do that anymore. Matter of fact, you know what leaders tell me? Tim, I've been doing this for so long. If it's not fun, I'm not going to do it. And how many of you know that leadership is not just about having fun? It is fun. It's especially fun when you take responsibility and you do the tough stuff. See, I don't like to have the conversations sometimes that I have to have. I don't like to be able to call out bad behavior and go, hey, that's not what we do in our culture. I'm not trying to be judgmental, I'm not trying to be harsh, but that's not what we do. Even in our home, we never had rules as we raised our children. We had 4 values and we lived to those values, and we all had to live to those values. Do you know what hurts companies? Do you know what hurts organizations? Do you know what hurts churches? Do you know what hurts? When we set these values and then we don't live them, but we demand that other people do. Oh, come on, can I get a witness in here? Yeah, so I just encourage you, in your life, make sure that you're taking time with people. Can I believe one of the most compassionate things that a leader can ever do is not only lead people, but honestly take a moment to the people that need it and help them manage their life and their time and their attitude and their vision better. I'll give you all a chance later to talk about that. The fifth thing is this: you just got to keep telling it again. You got to keep telling it again. You got to be the chief repeater in your organization. You got to constantly keep telling the story and telling the vision and telling the culture over and over and over. And all of you that are on my team here, I want to ask you to take ownership of that and start talking about it and tell it again and again and again and again and again because we get tired of it. I don't want to say that one more time. Well, the one more time you say it can make all the difference in the world. I'm not talking about where you rub people wrong. I'm just saying we've got to keep reminding as leaders what it is that people need to be doing in order to move to the whole nother level that they need to run to. I have one more written down here, and I can't read what I wrote, so we'll have to come back to it later. Is that all right? Is that bad leadership or what, man? That's bad leadership. So here's what I found out. When I got around people and I started watching high performers, and I get to hang out with the top 5% in the world of pastors and leaders and developers of people, and it blew my mind to watch them in their lives, whether it was a movie star or a sports person or a mom in a home or a dad or anybody. It just blew me away to watch how people could be running so hard and then just do something that would take them out. It was a conversation. It was an action. Anybody besides me ever get tempted to let your pain do the talking? If you don't understand what I'm talking about, if you've ever been hurt by people and then you have a conversation with them, if you're not careful, you'll let the pain lead the conversation instead of love. Yeah, I dropped that L word. Love people. So sometimes that's where forgiveness as a leader comes in big time. But I just want you to know in your life, you've got to understand that companies now train on skill and hire for attitude, where they used to hire on skill and train for attitude. But they found out that you cannot, or it's very, very tough. It takes a longer space to get somebody's attitude right. You ever have somebody on your team that, man, you're growing, you're booming, you're building, you've got focus, you've got vision, and then they just pour negativity all over it. Or they transact the group of people that you've got. Have you ever had that happen? It's like, yeah, thank you very much. I needed that. So you see it in movies. You see it in musicians. You see it in business. You see it in athletes. You see all these people, and you may be asking, like I do, why do people self-defeat? What is it that causes people to do this? And I just want you to know that sometimes what you'll find out when you're leading people, now I'm talking to you about when you're leading people, you're going to recruit people and build people, and you're going to bring people around you that will honestly come to the meeting and think, you know what? All the rules don't apply to me. I know what they said, but that doesn't apply to me. You ever have one of those on your team? And I watch it over and over again. They feel deep in their soul that they deserve, and they think more about rewards and what they want than they do the responsibility. So as you're beginning to lead people, you've got to know this. As you begin to build a team, you've got to know this. You've got to understand it, and you've got to be aware of it, and I hope you're aware of it sooner than later. How many of you know it's easy to implement something? It's a lot harder to untie it. It's easier to get into something than it is to get out of something. My background, I'm a pastor, so the Bible describes it this way: a little bit of leaven, a little bit put in the bread will destroy the outcome of that bread. As a leader, we've got to be looking out where people honestly have this feeling where they're going, you know what, I'm better, I'm bigger, I'm beyond, it doesn't apply. Can I tell you, most of those people are on their way very quickly to a very devastating end. The opposite side of that is I watch people that do self-defeating behaviors because they start to win and success starts to happen, and then they feel very unworthy. And then they begin to do self-defeating things because they don't feel like they deserve, or they don't feel like they can lead, or they don't feel like they're equipped for the blessing that's about to come around them. Have you noticed that like I've noticed that? It's amazing to me. So as you begin to look around, man, what should I do, Tim, to get out of my own way? What should I do? And I really haven't honestly talked to my own group of circle leaders at this place, but I think it's very important. I was thinking about it this morning that 2 books I really want us to lead and read together is The Vocabulary of a Leader, which we'll talk about. And some of you've read that book. Some of you've got the CD or the download on that. But this whole thing right here on how to stop self-defeating behaviors, because in almost every growing organization, what you're going to find out is we end up destroying our own futures by our own thoughts and attitudes. So how do I do it? I'm so glad you asked. Thank you. Number 1, I call it having same page people with you. Put people around you who are like-minded and like-hearted. Have people around you that are going to the same place. They seem the same destination. How many of you leaders right now listening to me right now, you're driving down the road and you're going, oh my goodness, I put the wrong person in that spot. I gave control to the wrong person. I empowered the wrong person. I didn't know that they had these things inside of them. That's why as a leader, you're never critical, you're never judgmental, but you sure are an evaluator. Can I tell you the most unloving thing you can ever do in your life is put somebody in a spot that they are not ready for that destroys them. I don't think anybody in this room would give a 4-year-old the keys to a Ferrari and say, go have a good day. Now, I don't think you would do it. I don't think you would even give them the keys to a Ford Taurus. Not that there's anything wrong with Ford, but I don't think you would do that. Why? You just gave somebody more than they can handle. In my life, I've dealt with so many companies, organizations, even in my own life, we had 500 employees, 5,000 volunteers, and I would get in a lot of struggle sometimes, heated conversations that we needed to have because I had people around me because of politics that wanted to put people in a position that they were not ready to be in. I don't care how educated they are. I don't care where they got their degree from. I don't care where they've hung out. I want to know right now, who are you, not what you used to do. Oh, come on. That's good. There's nothing more profoundly crazy than putting a small-minded person over a big-minded person. There's nothing worse than putting somebody with a really bad attitude over top somebody that's got a really great attitude. Can I get a witness in here? How many of you in your life right now have had to deal with small minds? What is a small mind? Are you being critical, Tim? No, I just want you to know what they are. They're negative, they gossip, and they're non-producers. They sit around and tell everybody else how to do it, but they've never done it. They come up with all the ideas because they love their ideas, but they don't want to do the ideas that are already there. Is this too tough today? I'm so sorry. So when you get around people, man, you got to ask yourself, are these people that negative? Are they gossipers? What do they do? Have you ever heard the statement that loose lips sink ships? They get behind, and instead of working and growing, they get behind and talk about people. Psst, let me tell you about the leader. Psst, let me tell you about them. See, I can tell you right now, I've got people listening to me right now that when I talk about this, you've had this experience, and right now it brings a crushing blow to your spirit. Even though you've forgiven, even though you've moved on, you remember what it felt like to have somebody say an untruth about you, or they get so smart at doing it, they'll put 99% truth with 1% lie. But the problem with deception is you have to end up fighting against truth to get people to open their eyes to see the reality of the one thing that's going to destroy you. See, some of you right now, you have people around you, they're pressuring you to take on their negative values and their negative beliefs. And I'm going to tell you one thing that you can know about these people. You can know this. They're going to try to make everything look like it was your fault. So as a leader, you've got to get same-minded people around you. You can't have people around you that have faulty thinking. Take time and listen. Get to know somebody. Yesterday, I was in Kansas City, and they had some crazy early tee time on a golf course. And can I tell you, I'm from Florida. I'm freezing. It's 40 degrees there. And the guy asked me, he said, will you just go golf with us and hang out? And I'm like, oh, no. I said, yes. And can I tell you, I went and I played, and for the first 4 or 5 holes, we were all playing on our own ball. They gave me a set of women's clubs to play on. I was like, you all, this is not right. This is not how you treat somebody coming in out of town. But anyhow, we were having so much fun, but they were so short. I had to get used to where they were. But all of a sudden, we decided we were going to play best ball. And what I realized at that moment is I would focus for the team when I would not focus for me. What did not matter to me in the beginning became something that mattered because I didn't want to let the team down. And how many of you know when you do that, you normally play over your head? I started hitting shots that I was going like, hey, I meant to do that. I mean, it was like, that thing went straight. That's like pretty certain that's a miracle. You know what I'm talking about? And then I'd hit the second shot. And then I was, oh man, Tim, you would have loved it. I was sinking putts. Woo, it's like the angels were carrying him in the hole. I was walking away like, oh, great, Tim, oh. And I was like, that's what's supposed to happen. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, have you ever had one of those moments in your life where you'll do something for others that you won't do for yourself? You'll put more into it than you would never put in for yourself. Matter of fact, leaders, I want to beg you today. Can I just go out on the limb? Can I get really close to the edge? I promise I won't go off. But some of us have a very bad habit that we only give our best when everything is perfect. And I want to encourage you, if there's 2 there or 2,000 or 200,000, put it all on the line, man. Because I want to tell you, what you're building in you, is it okay if I get a little fired up today? What you're building in you, when you're giving your all, when everybody else is sucking wind, is going to come back to you in a way that you could never imagine. Can I just get personal for a second? Maybe that's why it's so important for me that whatever I do unto the Lord. I got an audience of 1. Now, some of you don't have faith, and I'm not trying to offend you, but I just want to tell you, in leadership, I really think that matters. Faulty thinking. So let me give you some questions that you need to ask about the people that are around you. Can I do that? Number 1, can they see my gift? Can they see my gift? You see, leaders, I believe that you need to be making people a little bit uncomfortable because you see in them what they do not see in themselves. Do you know how many people have humongous gifts and they do not know it? Here's the tragedy. Are you ready? They give their lives away to people and things that they should never give their life away to. Find out what is your gift. Don't try to make it up. Can I tell you? It is amazing to me how many people, and I'm going to try to make anybody paranoid, but I have a tendency to watch people because I care about people. And I can see their gift where they would succeed like you could not imagine, but they're not pleased with that gift. Are you okay with that? I have a friend of mine, his name is Doug Weed, and he writes all these books, and he wrote a book for my family at one time. And I remember one day we were having a conversation. This was a lot of years ago. And he said, Tim, right now I'm finding that this opens my door for me to get in, but it's not my main gift. I want to challenge you today. If you will do 2 things, if you will find a need and fill it, and then be faithful. As a leader, it's going to open doors for you that is going to blow your mind. Are you okay with that? By the way, if you have questions while I'm going, in a few minutes I'll stop and I'll take those questions, not because I know everything, but just because I think it's great when we get to have this interaction and conversation where we can talk about it. Can you see my gift? My wife, Gay, who you will meet tonight if you hang around, it was after that we got married that I really started seeing all these gifts in her that she did not feel very comfortable that she had. By the way, I'm saying something to you right now as a leader when you're leading people. You're seeing in them, not because you're trying to make up something or manipulate them, but because it's really true. Are you with me? Boy, that changes everything. But at first they'll fight you because it doesn't feel comfortable. Because you cannot believe how you're gifted, your gifts are connected to your self-worth. We have a young man that comes to church here all the time, and my wife happened to see him that, man, he has a gift with children. He has a gift to be around kids. And he's basically a kid himself. But his gift and his patience made room for him. And so I went to his father and said, "Can your son serve?" And he said, "Yes." And I saw him this last Sunday, and it blew my mind because he came around the corner. You might have seen him maybe. And he was lit up like a Christmas tree, like I've never seen before. Do you know why? His gift made room for him to make a difference. And how many of you know when you get the chance to make a difference, how many of you know that makes your day a whole lot better? The worst day of your life is where everything in your life is about people serving you. Can you find your gift? The second thing is, do they want my success? Do they want me to win? Now, I got to tell you all, that is not as easy as you think it is. Some of you got people right now in your life that they are honestly not very happy that you're winning. I used to say all the time, be careful when something good happens in your life, watch who claps. Can you be happy for other people's wins and successes? I think it's one of the most beautiful things that we get to do as a leader, is we get to celebrate other people's victories. We get to celebrate other people's blessings. Some of you all attend sales meetings every week, and you get so tired of hearing Susie's name. Susie, Susie, Susie. Susie sold so much. Yay, Susie. Sit on a corn cob. You know what I'm talking about? That's not right. But I'm telling you, I know what we do. Can you be happy for Susie? And can you realize if you're happy for Susie, can I tell you, something great is about to break through in your life. But just be aware of the people around you that want you to succeed. The third thing is will they help me succeed? Not just the fact that they want me to, but they will help me. How many people in the room besides me need a little help? I need help. Okay, I'm one out of all of you. That ain't too bad. Can I take one more vote? How many people need help? Yeah. See, if you don't know you need help, you need help. No, I'm serious. You really do. Does that mean you need help? One is too small a number to do anything significant long term. You can do something big, you can do something significant, but it won't last. You got to move the vision from me to we. That's your responsibility as a leader. That's who you are. You know, my kind of lab over the last 30 years of my life is I've had the privilege, I'm not trying to brag, I'm just telling you, I've had the privilege of being in front of 1 million people live a year. And I've been able to watch people for those years. And can I just tell you, it is amazing to me that even in a coliseum of people, how the people that are broken find each other. How the people that love to have hallway seminars find each other. And they always love to go out and pontificate about what the speaker is talking about. It's almost like they're a news person. I know what you just heard him said, but let me tell you what he really said. I know what you saw, but let me tell you what you really saw. Can I get a witness in here? So as a leader, man, I've got to ask myself, will people help me? Will they help me? Do they want to help me? You know, before I walked up here today, my good friend, she just gave me a transcript and said, here, I think you would enjoy reading this. Thank you for that. I'm very grateful. I love it when people feed me. Can I tell you what I love? I love when people tell me what I already know, and I get the privilege to act like it was the first time I ever heard it. Oh, folks, that's bigger than you know. Because if we have low self-esteem, you know what we say? Oh, yeah, I knew that. I've known that for a long time. I taught on that. I'm going to tell you something crazy. I've been in coliseums before, and people walk up and say a lot of things to me. But walking out of the back door, and you know what I'm talking about, Tim, I would have a janitor in the Coliseum walk over to me and say, I want to let you know, I was listening, and you just changed my life. And I want to tell you a story. And they give me wisdom and information that no college professor could ever give me, and I could have never written out of a book. Be aware of a person with a gift that nobody has recognized who wants to help you. I hope you heard what I just said. I do. Will they help me? The fourth thing is, can they handle my success? Can they handle my success? Are they prepared? Have they been equipped to deal with the success that I'm about to have in my life? When I sit down with leaders, a lot of times I will ask them this question: tell me when you have your greatest wins, when something happens during your day that is awesome, who is the first person you call? I also ask them, when the bottom falls out and everything goes wrong, who is the first person you call? How many of you know those are two very important people in your life? Would you agree with me on that? Yeah. You see, I see a lot of people that can deal with failure, but they can't deal with success. I see a lot of people survive failure, but I don't see a lot of people survive success. I see them survive failure. So who is it in your life right now that can handle your success and they're excited for you? And I'm about to say something that's so critical. Leaders, this is so critical. When you have people around you or you stop growing and someone else around you keeps growing, it's going to cause the biggest amount of conflict you can ever imagine. If you ever get invited into a room where you're asked to make a decision, don't ever get so full of yourself to think you have all the answers and you know everything. Please know that when you walk into that room, these people are very smart. And they're asking you because they're looking for one more perspective on what it is that they're dealing with. Humility has got to be what we live by. Are you with me? So this is so critical. Can you take one more? Yeah. There's 10 in the book. I encourage you to get it. The second one is, I see so many people defeat themselves because they see themselves as a victim. If you keep living with what happened to you, matter of fact, people will get mad at you because you don't talk about it. I just want to tell you about my own personal story. When I was 18, my mother was killed in an automobile accident. When I was 21, my father in a house fire. When my brother was 43, he died of pancreatic cancer. My sister, I had to do her funeral. That's not who I am, folks. I am more than a conqueror. I went through some stuff. Anybody in the room ever been through anything like I've been through, you've been through? And can I tell you, some of you listen to me right now, you've been through things that we wouldn't even want to talk about. But I want to tell you something. That is not who you are. It's something you went through. And I want to tell you, you are about to come out and not see yourself as a victim, but as a victor. And I see so many people in their lives that they get into these pity parties because, honestly, of things that have happened in their lives. And I'm not saying it's not painful. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt. I'm not saying, for God's sake, I wished it would have never happened. But I want to tell you right now, you cannot allow it to define you. You've got to step into the victory that you are and get in this thing and get it done. Because I see so many people that honestly go, why do people pick on me? They blame others. And what ends up happening is they don't want to take responsibility. I hear a lot of this. Well, the buck stops here, but I'm old. I'm too old. I'm too young. You hear all these things people say? Well, if you had been through what I've been through, I'm single. You don't know what happened to me. And I'm going, I know I haven't, but I want to let you know your past memories are nothing more than information if you learn from it and grow from it and build from it. How do I get out of my own way? I want you to know you can rise above your circumstances with new thoughts and new attitudes. I mean, can I tell you, I'm coming from this background, so I'm going to talk to you about the Bible, but the Bible is a book with stories of people that should have been defeated, that should have been done, and yet they rise to change the world. There were two men asked, why did you turn out the way you are? And they both said the same thing. They both said, my dad. One was an alcoholic who ruined his life. The other had built a company to change people's lives. How many of you know it's not what happens to me, it's what I happen with what it's doing to me? And can I tell you, the reason today I wanted to come and talk to you about what you already know this. Because I'm telling you, I sense in my heart right now, you're about to take a new role, you're about to have new blessings, you're about to walk in a new way, and because of that, I want you to go back to the basics. And I want you to shore up your foundation, and I want you to now no longer see yourself as defined what you were, but I want you to see yourself defined on what you were called to be. Is that okay? If we were in church, I'd ask for an amen right there. So I just want to encourage you, don't become a victim. I love this quote. Self-pity is easily the most destructive of all non-pharmaceutical narcotics. It's as addictive, gives momentary pleasure, and separates the victim from reality. I want you to know you don't have to run from anything that's ever gone on in your life, in business and in life, anything, you don't have to run from it. Matter of fact, I believe with great assurity that the thing that was trying to destroy you, you can turn around and bust the enemy right over the head with it and say, I am more than a conqueror. So you say, Tim, how do I get through this? How do I rise above this? Well, you got to get the same page, people. You got to stop viewing yourself as a victim. But I want to tell you, just in closing, man, what are the books that you're reading? What are you listening to right now? What are you filling your mind with daily? What is it that's taking up your time? What downloads are you listening? What podcast are you listening to? What are you learning? What are you unlearning? What are you reading? Can I ask you a question? Just me and you. Do you have a mentor? Do you have a coach? A mentor will help you get better at what you do. A coach will help you get better at what you are. And I promise you, it's really important for you and I to get better at who we are, because who we are will determine what I do. Not only when things are going well, but when pressure arises. So are you reading books? Are you learning? Are you listening to downloads? Are you associating with the right people? What are your top 5 friends like? And I'm so proud of you for being here at G5 Leadership today. I'm so proud you're here. And just so you know, my heart on this is I get to do this all over the world. And one day I just said, you know what? I really want to gift this to the people that are closest to me, that live in my community, that are part of our team. I just want to tell you, if you're not careful And I just want to say this with all the love I can. But if you're not careful, if you keep living your failures and your past experiences, it's the relationships that you're going to build for the rest of your life. You can't keep dragging yesterday's baggage into today's environments. There's nothing that breaks my heart more than to see somebody gifted and talented and amazing at what they do. But you know what? The poison that's in their soul, they have never let it leave, so they bring it wherever they go. Some of you have people in your life right now that you want to be great friends with, but it's hard to be friends with them. It's hard to bring them on the team. It's hard to bring them around the team because all they can talk about is yesterday's brokenness. And I just want to say to you, man, there's so much more in you than you know. And you are an overcomer. You are a high achiever. You are somebody that's going to make a difference in this world. And I believe that with everything inside of me. I want to encourage you to challenge these things that are trying to hold you back. And I want to encourage you to read and underline and reread and talk to your friends about it and begin to build yourself from the inside out. Can I tell you, I know this today. I know the people that are listening to this right now. I know the people that are in this room today. I know they're incredible leaders. I know you have incredible callings. And by the way, I get the privilege, I get the honor to walk with you and talk with you and stand with you and believe with you and hurt with you and cry with you and laugh with you because we together are going to get this done because we are a team. We're a team. And we're going to get through it, and we're going to march ahead. So I want to encourage you, go have those uncomfortable conversations. Begin to really build the team around you. And if you don't have a team, will you do me a favor? Get on a team. Get on it and say, how can I serve? How can I add value to you? One of the joys I get here is a lot of people that own companies and businesses come here, and I get to walk with them and honor them and help them build. There's some of you right now, I can't wait to get in the trenches with you. I'm not one of these guys that likes to hang out in the high towers. No, get me down in the trenches where it's raw and it's real. But I wonder today, listening to me right now, I wonder how many of you have got dreams and hopes. And right now, I want to inspire you. I want to challenge you. I want to honestly get all up in your grill and say, hey, I want to mess your hair up a little bit. Even those of you that don't have any. And so come on. Here's what I know, and here's what I believe, and I close. I believe that your greatest successes are in front of you. Your greatest opportunities are right out in front of you. Do it with honor. Do it with integrity. Do it with humility. And watch what happens in your life. I think it's going to blow your mind like it's going to blow my mind. My honor to be with you today. I love you. Keep charging. Boom.
Yeah.